clock shifting, line setting, position all levels of high interference. We did position location and countermeasure. The center communication line system is the allocate line setting. Now, it's to understand how to all levels you master in communications and how you set wires and communication lines. Electrical grids, electrical panels, high force line center interference, mainframe communication, and continuous force line connections. We're going to go into interstellar mode. Now, the calculation of position location is going to reach its temperature reading lines. You have to understand, the more you go into core recognition and line setting, it's all about understanding the position location of relationship to your cells. Every line positioned to the atom line rotation interference has to get used to the atmosphere line. So all atom lines are going to separate communication into a sprinkler, set locations. It's all going to come out. It's going to surface line connection. Release calculation, right? Getting you guys into your definitive line position of all levels of your breathing. You have to understand the circulation line connection interference. Okay, so the line communication system is like a vacuum. Line connecting is extremely powerful. We got in that line center. So it's to understand that high setting position locations comes into different clock locations. All right. Now you understand your 12, your 24, your 48, your 72, 144. Anything above line center, you're reaching higher communication near 12 DNA line track location and clock locations. I'm going to set up a formula in position locations. You're going to go into the input and output line connections to its atom line system with photons, protons, electrons, and neutrons. The line communication is all line, all right? So what's going to happen? It's going to overdrive communication line system. It's going to run and initiate its own program setting. Once you get in calculation system, it lets go the sprinkler, all right? So in calculation, like Lindsay's saying, it's a tremendous big highline center of a waterfall that's going to central line communications and set different dimensional applications of clocking, all through modification, all right? So... All right, so wait for everybody to come in. Line conditions, equation line center, solve text locations, calculation high system. All right, calculation Tina, line centers, Madeline, and position locations, Seraphon, line conditions of Bond, infinite 369 locations, Pam, line center interference, Don calculations, Jill, line interference, high setting, Ryan, Gypsy, Pam, Nancy, Airbender, Heather, Johnny, Chris, Val, CC, MacGyver, calculation system, Skyla, all levels, position locations, Nova, calculations, atom lines, Delana, Janelle, Laura, Danielle, Cami, let's see, Ellen, it's great to see you. Ellen, I need you to change your rebellion force line of the connection lines in sequence because it doesn't exist anymore in line connections. This is what happens when you get out of falling signals. I got a plotted division location into 16,000 dimensional line rotations, get you in formations, back in calculation, back in center, back in operation to your matrix grid location system. Okay. So line connect, high line center, position locations, waiting on signal. Okay. Line interference. So program location and position locations on, it's important that you understand what's going on. But welcome back to that calculation system. That plotted to division locations goes through high line connections and upgrade line center of more memory and communications. All right. Let's see. Heather calculations. Let's see. Commander. Let's see. Geneva line centers. Pyroc calculation system. Jill's and pre-flight communication of commands. Let's see. Gypsy and protocol calculations. Airbounders navigations lines. David's center lines. Andrea. Calculation system, Andre calculation line rotation, today's structures. All right, so you've seen all your platforms, energy light communication, electrical line connections, electrical line interference, position of frequency patterns. So it's all calculated to modify how we set line position of Chris. Chris, great job. You got yourself out of your flywheel. Walk through a wrench, eh? All right, so clock line channels, setting code line centers. We're going to go through black screen line rotations and calculation system. All right. So we're going to go through black. So you'll be able to see, right? All calculation line interference. All right. So Jill, you're going to be able to see the structures now because I know everybody's important locations. So black over white, white over black, as long as you see the indication line interference, because the CPU line center is changing order locations of signal position of patterns or anything through geometry line interference. So it's important that you see the laser communication that's designed through your modification signals. Setting line position location calculations, all rhythm pattern locations, one clock line system in position location of box, line condition in position of triangle. Okay, so it's the male and the female aspect line conditions into flux capacitor. Now, position location directions into bracket location. We start off with this. Now, the line condition comes into all levels of atom. Atom position location, line conditions, equal locations into particle. Particle line position location opens all line positions to its atmosphere locations. Channel operation line stream. All right. Setting signal locations, you start in the center line connections, right? Now, in 5-line sequence, center position of calculations, you guys are going to go off like a sprinkler. Calculation modifications, extreme setting locations, going to allocate timelines in your times of pi. This is a coarse line interference that sets position location, highly set line interference. So changing line communication into position locations into a diamond line setting. Line connection, line connect, position location of program rotation. Setting position location into Y line center and position set communication system. See, electrical light connections, right? Open clock line center in a 24,000 ground setting. 24 position locations and ground line center interference. There's 24. 24 line center in positions to jump scar line stream. Set position location direct line center. Atom and position location calculations. Timelines times position locations over pi. Position direct locations calculations. High system into atmosphere location of channel. Channel operation line system. Set up the sequence location of sprinkler in communications and line system. Measure the line center into all levels of conception. Mine calculation, high in line, and position location in all line system. Line center interference. Travel communication system. Allocate timelines. 30-minute on the clock location, high system. Done. So you guys are trying locations. Your atoms are separating, going through your clock line centers. So, and how do you understand what is going on with you is Trinity's then position location calculations. All right. Now, it's disappear line track. So it's trying to understand line interference. The atom line center goes in one position locations, and the other line communication goes the opposite locations, right? So it's all about understanding to bring something together in rotation setting, okay? The yin and yang is its process calculation, right? Comes in position location of 6, position location of 9, all right? Now the line setting position location opens all track line connections. Now we're going to merge into clock locations. So the sequence pattern locations open up a pattern line center to the atom line, which is a sprinkler communication system. This is where you guys come into your own scramblers of calculation, center calculation, high system. Now, merging line center to clock line center interference sets line position location at 24. 24 line centers and 48 position locations into 7 channels. 7-channel operation is your ground system. That's position location, your body track locations. Now you got 5 atmosphere line centers. That's 12 line center interference, 12 positions over pi calculation I interference. Line calculations, equal line communication of an atom line, channel position location, initiate run program, set communication line system, position location direction, 369 pattern, line position location, sun position, moon position, flux capacitor, high channel communication line stream. So line connecting in position location directions, setting line center interference, position location calculation of all track line connections, line connecting interference locations, all position location in 3 line position, 4 position, 5 position, 6 position, and 7 location of 7. Set position of 2 vector line communication stream, set line position 3, position of 4, line position of 5, 6 position of core line center, barcode position location, direct locations, clock line center, channel position operation system. Now, the line connection is position of 24, 24 to 48, 72 to 144. Now, the line communications come to 24,000, 48,000, 72,000, 144,000 line communication system. Travel line position location. Set communication those signals. Line connecting lines of realms of dimensional setting lines of travel line position. 12 line track locations, secure line defense. Set communications of clock locations. Setting calculation modifications settings opens all track line connections. All right. Merging in triangle lines. We got a triangle communication line center and position location, track line interference locations. This is where it gets very complicated. Okay. Now, we start with that line connections. You have no idea what that is. Very high rise. Center position location of triangle line. Triangle line comes into all position location into vector line connections. Line position locations, A line connections into 2 mountain surface line interference. Equation location of Einstein. Now, Einstein sets line communications, but he has a high line center interference. So his program location sets line communication system to allocate timeline. Timeline interference position location 2 bracket line centers into 0 gravity location into two position location calculations. Box position location into vector communication into flux capacitor communication channel. Line condition to box surface location to calculations. Ooh-ah. All through equation. Now, the line connecting interference is to understand how to set up a code signal. Now, the code signal sets all position location directions to your 12 DNA line center. So it's in the line center interference of atmosphere location of the calculations. Center communication system. Each one is applied to the division location of quantum line channel. Quantum line channel comes into line position locations. Setting line position location, your alphabetical line conditions comes into keyboard line centers. So we have a key line center. Okay, key line center. A key, right? Equals location line conditions of a dimensional door line. Okay, opens all communication system. Line centers, track locations. Docile and the dot, center communication, right? One dimensional door to another dimensional door line. Now, once you open the key line center, it opens up 369 pattern. The key line center opens all communication system. This allocates line center and the position location of triangle line connections. That opens all position location of door line center interference, opens all communication and position location directions. XT1000 comes in line center, scans position location calculation, opens another ground line rotation, center communication high system. Position location directions, all right? So there's so many ways of communication to set up line position. Okay, line rotation centers. We got our clock locations into 24,000, right? Okay, so we got a 24,000 signal. Line center is a 24 line center interference. So you circle location of 24. Set communication equal line connections. 24,000 line center equals 3 line position locations of bracket interference. That's the area code. Set communication, area code communication, right? That's area code. It's all about understanding how all line center locations in Einstein, how he sets up rhythm pattern, course line channel position locations, redirect location, position location calculations, line connecting interference, line direct location, position location, center lines, allocate timeline centered and core line centered interference locations, all levels of communications, I channel line conditions of Einstein. So it's all about understanding how to set line position location directions. You can reach anything through frequency line communication setting. Okay, it's just trying to understand how to understand the line systems. Now, when you go to higher information line connections, you have to understand the plasma channels. Plasma channel line position locations comes as shapes and anomalies. So let's say we got a clock location of a shape, set line connections, right? There's a shape position. You have a planet surface in line centers. You got 3 weather pattern communications, okay? And you got an atom line center rotations to 2 point system locations, all right? 4 channel operation lines. Now, coming into high center interference, you have a Fibonacci sequence swirl, set location of center line. Now, it's all indicated locations. You have 3 line position locations in position to flux capacitor. That flux capacitor changes communications. So that sunlight communication comes in the line center, moon communication center, position location calculations. Setting line interference, okay, allocates timelines, time strains, time high position, change triangulation, position location directions, setting communication to the diamond core line center, set position location to stand to its ground line center rotation interference, sets a new crop location calculation. Now, line connecting levels opens up new orb center position location, direction location, center line communication, dimensional line interference, sets position location high system. Now, the high system changes clock locations. Now, once you get into 24 line center, 48,000 line position locations, you don't need to have a high line center interference. You don't need to go into 48. You can go into 40. You can go into 7. You can go into 16. This is totally different line center when you go into higher level of communication into frequency locations of higher dimensional line settings or realms. So it's important to understand these things, okay? Truly understand your 12 DNA track line center interference position locations, 7 energy body water line center interference, and 5 within the atmosphere locations. After 12 line center, you come into calculations. Center communication is the center line connection, right? So that's 114 chakra lines of light communications, all levels of measure. Center line communication opens all calculation settings. Now you come into merge into solar graph locations into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 communications, right? Now the line connections comes into a step line, okay? Now it's a rotation spin cycle. So it looks like a road graph line, center, position location, high system location, spin cycle, position location, cosmic universe, position location calculation, streaming center line, position location, all levels, calculate high center interference, the clock locations. Center line communication interference. Now, once you get into that line position location, clocking channels, it's high lines. And it's important you understand that the atom line center position of your body track location has to understand the temperature reading of oxidized locations, all right? HQO, all right? HQ, line condition, water line, right? Water HQ line center equals water communication, right? Pattern line center equals box communication, line connection over triangulation. triangulates the position locations, all their line centers into clock locations, in position locations into 72,000 line communication. Ooh-ah. Center communications allows the travel. Now, understanding how to use waterline channel location, position, and directions, right? You come into water striders. All right, so the water striders come into higher line communication or clock locations. Channel operation signals starts with the center position, right? So the center position that comes in the high center goes into the opposite triangle line interference rotation and calculations, resetting communications, right? So the inner line center sets line inner rotations to a new dimensional line inner rotation spin cycle, line conditions of graph location of a galaxy surface location of its tunnel. Tunnel line center comes into all positions of a dip. Center line position opens all track line center into position location of your diamond core. Line connecting interference location comes into the ground line center in a rotation spin cycle. Spin cycle comes into ground line center interference position location above measure. Measuring communication comes into the magnetic highway information system position location of directions. Center line communications come to all communication energy field line position location directions. Center communication comes into the opposite cycle location calculations. Line connecting interference sets all position location to track line center and dimensional location of clock line center in rotation position in infinity cycle calculation. Ooh-ah. Done by equation. So, a lot of things you guys have to really understand how it works through clock lines. All right. The more you reach the 12 lines, the 24, 48, 72, that's just the beginning. All right. So it's birthing clock line centers in position how to use your cell generation light streams. Once you get into cell generation light streams, it sets up a new data streamline connection to position location directions. All right. So are we having fun yet? Okay. You come into teleportation unit location. Ooh-ah. Hologram line center and sequence location of a new clock locations. Okay. See the grounds, see the grids, see the cyclone line center, see the hologram locations, see the digital frame position locations, all levels of calculation, all through clocking. Clock line channel line in rotations. That's 7 million channels. Okay. 7 million channels per mile per second per square per calculus. All right. Now the line stream, it's extremely locations. You set the offline channel. Now, when you set the offline channel, it comes into energetic dome line. That dome line changes the line condition to electric grid line center rotations. So understand the calculation position locations into reframing the line system, all calculated to all line center to one wire communication. Right? Everything evolves through energy, vibration, and frequencies and harmonics. The birth of everything is nothing. Nothing becomes something. Something becomes everything of equation. You understand? Formula of equation is U in divide line center to all calculations to all clocking locations. Right? All right. So once you get in that sequence pattern, so it's like a tone. It's like you're picking up right? It's a repeating pattern. So it's understanding how the universe line connection works for you, your universe, your time, your frequency, your calculation, your motivation, your calculus high center, your space, your time, your pi. Okay. So understanding line connections of wire and line interference in position locations. This is a tone line center. There it is. Bigger. Line communication, higher line center. Higher in communication system. Higher in division location. Higher line communications. Right? That's the birth of everything. It all starts with tone. Now, you have to understand how it calculates all line communications. So you got 7 line graphs. That's the body track line center, okay? You got 5 atmosphere line position. That's your 12 DNA. Setting single location is its clocking location on its own division location of its realm, guys. It's connected to all Stargate position locations to an infinity cycle of all modification, all right? So understanding how you are calculated and modified to a position of direction shows you all levels how to travel through lights of clocking in all different division locations of dimension. All right. So it's incredible for us because that's how it starts. So it's a sound tone. So it's all your senses. That's how your universe is created, line conditions, right? Setting a spark in communication is truly understand line connections to your sensory lines. Yeah. You understand? The projection location is all levels of U through production. How you use your templates and calculus and times of pi puts you in a position location of directions. Center line connections, all levels of a swirl line rotation. Center interference of a back force line communication of a swirl line connections. All levels of a communication line of a dimensional line in rotation to a swirl communication, right? So that puts it in 8-channel communication settings. Line connecting in position location to higher line position. All levels of track location in position location directions comes into a full communication of a planetary line of a solar system location, so a flywheel. There's a lot of things you have to understand when you come into higher levels of atmospheric clocking. Okay, the line connect sets line communication structures. It tracks line center interference. It opens all position location directions. Setting signals opens all communication, right? So line connecting is so powerful, especially when you get in that division line center of your clock locations. Center line centers in rotations comes into all calculation. So you come into an S line stream, you come into a rotation spin cycle, you come into a position location into a pyramid line connection, or you come into the line connection of a circle location, right? That's a clock, right? So when you understand realm connect, then you understand the platitude division location, how it overcycles line connections over overdrive. Initiate run program. We already know that line center, right? So it's a Wi-Fi position locations and how you use your moon through emotional line connection. It's all through clocking. Your emotional setting is set up locations into 60 seconds line connection of 60 minutes per hour. That's a 1-minute channel over cross line center of stream rotations into its position of its directions of pi. Okay. There's so many line connecting interference position location directions to line signals, to high interference, to high programs, to high calculations of high clocking location, right? So clocking line center of grounds, clocking line centers of powers, clocking line centers of the atmospheres, clocking line centers of dimension, and clocking line centers of locations of universal line connections of grounds, right? That's just in 5-channel operation streams, 5 operation stream settings, all right? So comes into 2 panels of communication, right? Line connecting is so powerful. You come into all position, location, and directions, right? You weave your system locations, right? It's like branches on a tree, okay? So fascinating when you see these things come to life through your body system, all through calculations to your constellation. All right? So I think it's important you understand how to use retrospect lines of receptor locations. Now it gets more complicated, right? Because you're trying to figure out what's he talking about? What does this all mean? Well, it's all recognition of you, time locations of you, allocate time streams of you. So, once you understand more formation of its calculation, it times lines in a high position location of its directions. It line connects all line interference, rotation spin cycles. Now, when you come into a box line position, okay, you have to understand the clocking of its graphs. Clock here, clock here. There's 3 clock locations, all right? So that's 3 channels of operation line connections, right? 3-line system comes into triangulation, right? So you put it in the center communications, right? Now, understanding how to use your diamond core line string comes into higher line connections of a road graph string, lines all levels of a dimensional line setting in position locations, right? A clock. So it's in the position location of our grandfather's clock. Hoo-ah. You got the indication line here, okay? Right there. See? So it's important you understand how everything is set for you in clock location, right? It has a dimensional line setting. So if you understand the indication of this clock locations, of channel operations, a clock location can be anything through 0, anything through shape locations, right? Now, this is all back in the 80s, line conditions of back force locations, when you're going into this rotary phone, right? So setting position of signals in high generation light conditions in direct locations into its own clocking system. Okay. Crop circle location at dimensional lines. Okay. Everything is a clock. Your face is a face clock of recognition of space and time. Your glasses are clock locations. Your nose is a clocking system. Everything has to be in clock because you're traveling constantly. My finger point line center, digital line in rotation, interference location calculations. Each finger is a representation to a clock location, different dimension, different time, different line conditions, right? Moon track line center, beam interference location at all levels of calculating a satellite condition, a Wi-Fi position calculation system. This pinky here line condition, which is the baby line center interference, this is going 1 million miles per second, per channel, per operation, per square, per mile, all through clocking. So understand the imagination is just the beginning of its phenomenon. The only way you're going to understand the mastering of you is to redesign you all over again in your clocking setting. Okay? And that's what it is. It's practice makes perfect. Practice, 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 practice. Every time you practice, you get better, 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 better over time. Because that's all you do is exist in all timelines all at once through yin and yang. So, whoa. How's everybody doing? Drink your waters. Navigate team into frontiers, line connecting sun and moon. Send us into formation, triangulation, Alpha Bravo. See, when you guys finish school line and you come back into your atom line center, your cells are in a different protocol system now. Okay? Because it understands the atmospheres of time of clocking. Okay? This is going to help you always inform because whatever I go through, you go through. But you're redesigning you all over again through the geometric operation of direction, design, calculation of its division, location of its line system. Okay? So knowing the clockings of you, the channels of operations of you, the blocking center line and rotations you, the space and time of calculations of pies of you, the vector line connection, the sector communications, the cross line stream interference, line position locations, anything to high system is all levels of mastering you inside. All right? It's going to help you in all ways and forms in your future connections to yourself and everybody else. So, I hope you get a line connecting. It's all line position locations. Line connecting is extremely important because you're setting digital frames of line signaling, line rotating, circulating, circulatory line conditions. So this is all about you understanding how to get out of the calculations of the organic line connections, right, to the etheric line connection of its body. The body has to recognize your time, which is calculated that you're living in a 24 line. That's all it is. You're 24 line, 7 days a week. That's it. 24 line equals 7 days a week. That's what you live on. That's all you know. So it's a 24 clock location and a 7-day signal. That's it. So if you understand the graph location and what it is, the division, then you understand more levels of your clocking through time. Okay. So time sequencing times pattern is all levels of space in calculations of time, right? Space in between in communication equal locations of time. So space is all communication system. This is space. This is time. This is terrestrial locations of space of time through pi. That's all it is. That's all it is. So like I said, it's looking like a bird's eye view and you're seeing something. That's all together. It's like a baseball diamond, right? So getting into that core line center of its clock location, you understand the importance of what a clock is you inside position of all levels of travel of dimensional line connecting, right? Circle rotations one way and then circle rotations the other way. You got a Fibonacci swirl line rotation, setting, position, location, and calculations, right? Now, this channels up. Now, channel up screen line center sets a thought line. A thought line set a sequence pattern. The sequence pattern comes into string theta. String theta comes into a videograph screen location in its high view and communication. Box channel of operation. Setting signals in line connect. Okay, in dimensional setting, right? So there's so many ways you can set signals in your clock line center. Okay. So this is a way above standard. This is a way above phenomenon, but you have to understand lines. You have to understand your clock's at 24. Okay. 12 is just a reference line now, especially when you reach high lines of your CPU unit locations or anything to your platforms or protocol system. 48, 72, and 144. You guys have to reach these graphs of communication first. Zero gravity line, center line, position location is ground levels. Ground levels equals zero line operation of 24 signal. 24 line center comes up, position location and calculations. Okay. High rise line center, 48 comes up in position locations. 72 comes up in 4 line connections. And 144 tracks its line position location into high center interference into higher levels of GOD communication. All right. You have to get cross line connections first, right? So you have to understand the ground levels of all operation of your 24,000 lines of signature locations of patterns. Okay. So there's a lot to understand, and it's all through clocking, right? Clocking channels. All right. So you don't have to set a clock or face line connection. You just put a C. C is for clocking. See? You don't say clocking. You know C is clocking. So you just short form it. It's like abbreviation. It's like ABC. What does ABC stand for? Right? At smear line, balanced communication, all levels of communication. ABC. Grids, center communication of walk surface. See? ABC is turned into a graph of a road. Okay? Ground setting, operation signal. Okay? Open calculation, indirect location. See? Becomes a platform of its ground system, all through ABC. So if you know how to correlate, everything through the alphabetical line connection has a clock. Everything has to have a clock because it's traveling on its own. You're traveling on your own. Everything else is traveling on its own. So it needs a clock, right? So if you get into that calculus core that positions your lines of direction, okay? So again, C equals locations into 24 line. Communication equal line connection of 24. 24 line centers comes into high position locations. 24 line center, line interference, 24 equals locations of 48. Now that's a 40 channel line center, line rotation and calculations. Centering its communication system. Okay. Crossing streams in line connections, right? So basically it wipes up the 24 line and high rises its communication line stream, setting all communication systems of all wiping system of deleting programs. So it's important you guys understand realm connect. We have to really understand how to use the position locations and calculations into high channels of operation. Okay. So it's the basic understanding of what 3 is and what is 6 and what is 9. Okay. 3 doesn't always have to be at the top. Okay. So I'm showing you on all different ways and forms how you can go through different clocking, 3-dimensional settings, 3 alphabetical system. Every letter, every number, every shape, every symbol to its line connecting position location of energy, vibration, frequency, and harmonics is connected to its own clocking system of space and time of pi. Okay. So 9 connects. 9 equals location of clock. Right. So that clock line channel is automatically in a 48 window. Okay. It doesn't need a 24 stream because it's in balanced communication of 9 signals, which is the balanced communication of cross stream line center position. So the center position location comes into all calculations to a pyramid. Ooh, there you go. All through 6, 3, 9. So that 48 window line connects in line positions to a box location, into a TV line center, and a frame interference location to its position location of its flux capacitor. So we all understand how powerful we are when we come into structure, right? Structure is extremely important when you come to astral travels, astral connects, astral projection locations to anything in connections. Let's say you get a line, okay, and you're scanning positions. See something in line connections like this, trying to figure what that is, right? So, Fortitude communication system is allocated to timeline. See, that's your fluctuation lines. That's your body. Okay, it's a V line, right? That V line, its course channels to line connections to levels of its fork of Orion's belt. Now, Orion's belt is coming line center in position of measure into times of pi, right? So this is where it comes into all levels of past location, right? You need the past, you need the present, and the future line because the avatar is starting to live the signal location in the mind adaptation of a concept. That concept comes into its own clocking system, of its dimension, of its own realm, of its own time. Okay? So it's very important you understand how you are modified on all levels of mastery. Okay? This is how you understand more levels of you in the space of space locations, in time of its direct locations of pi. Okay? So, how are we all doing? Setting up patterns, code sequences, coming in TV, firing up. All right, connecting via the flame, gypsy sending emeralds to go there. Check the channels, press the false, and choose the scrambler. Multiplying. Yeah, whoa, atom, separate. I can see separate protons on neutrons. Yeah, and you actually see it come out, which is amazing too. But you just have to see the modification signals that comes out locations. So, because you're all connected atoms. So what it is to understand the atom of you in clock location to all levels of dimensional of its system of vibration. Frequencies is all levels. So try to understand what is energy? What is the form of energy through space-time? Okay. What is a frequency? What is harmonics? You have to figure these things out. And the only way to do that is to redesign yourself all over again through your own spiritual growth. Okay. And then once you get into the mind conceptual system, and then you understand the consciousness through the subtronic line connection, you get into higher levels of super conscious location. Now, once you get into super level conscious locations, then you get into higher formations of clocking. Okay. Because when you're getting into that, you're getting into galaxies. And galaxies spin on so many line connections. So galaxy goes this way, goes this way, goes this way, goes this way, goes that way, right? But your clocking is always in the center line, right? So wherever the galaxy goes, you go with the wind. You go with wind locations. You go with that way, you go this way, but you're all in sync. You're all in balance, in communications, all track line connections of yin and yang, right? So you get a clocking line center into, let's say, 14,000 lines. Okay, 14,000 lines right there. 14,000 line conditioning locations into 14 million. So now you're going over pi, right? Because you're going into the future line. So that's 14 million times line. Okay, so when you get at line conditions, you go into the center position, into triangulation of its pi. Okay, because that's what you just completed, right? So you complete one cycle at a time through one clock location. Very complicated, but very powerful. Okay, because now you're reaching higher levels of clock locations, right? You don't just start with the 12, 24, 48, and 72 and 144. You have to go beyond the mind line setting and how it's set up its own clocking system of time position. Okay. So once you get into 14 line center, you open up a position of a jump scar to another portal communication system. That opens up another channel. All right. So once you get into 14 million, you can go down to 24,000 line connections if you want. So what you're doing is you're back forcing lines of underscore communication. You're going back in time. So it's interesting to look at these line connections. Now that's an energetic graph line setting. how it's set up, right? But if you look really, really close, you can see the teleportation unit. You can see the clock. Okay. So I'm just showing you how you can go higher levels of clock. And when you get into that, you come into more calculation. If you're going to see more lines of a snow cloud or anything through dimensional setting, you have to understand what you're seeing through your clock, because this is extremely powerful when you go higher levels of conscious phone connection. All through measure of clock locations, guys, going beyond the recognition of clock locations. It's incredible. And then you can basically come back in the future communications and go into 1 billion track center, 1 billion. So you go from back force line, underscore line connections, under pi. Okay, remember. So it's all about an underscore line setting, but it's under pi. Okay, so that retracts lines and brings you back into communication, the present of its future, into 1 billion of clocking location. Right? And again, it goes back into the center because it's changing. It's changing its geometry setting to a higher level. Okay? So when it changes the Merkaba position, location of direction. Ooh-ah. Solar graph line streams, set position, location, magnetic highway information system, in ground location. Okay? This comes into higher levels of your Merkaba connection, all through triangulation. Very, very powerful. So, lots to understand. All right, so I'm taking you guys out of clock lines, 24,000 line signatures, back in calculation, high position, location, modified line center. Bring everything in out of line center, back in calculation. Guys are back. See? Center line communications, back in clock line center, all levels of dimensional setting. You have fun? Yeah, so we can talk about this in class now. But I'm just showing you how powerful it is, what you can do through higher levels of clocking locations of universal lines of different solar systems. See? You see how real it is? You see how amazing it is when you look at things in a different way and form? Pretty amazing, isn't it? So, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, your central system is different now. The atmospheres are different in your cells. Your atoms are understanding more calculations of calculus to your Merkaba, your tesseract, and your tetrahedron. Octahedron, tetrahedron, and calculation system, right? Your oxidized line center is now in balance. So, it's incredible. Mind blow, yes. So I'll give you guys 5-10 minutes to recuperate. Drink your waters. You're self-sufficient now. You come in the calculations of deploy, and you're coming into modification line setting, in line interference, and position locations into all levels of atom rotation. Better communication to your cell lines now. So it's very powerful when you know what you're doing. And when you know what you're doing, not only you're mastering your communications, but you're redesigning. You're redesigning you all through electrical system of clocking grids. So there's a lot of things you have to understand. See, I'm moving forward. Solar graph location, clock line center. That's 15 miles per channel, per operation, per square, per calculus over pi. Just like that, right? Knowing what you're doing is mastering on its own. Okay. Yes, maps upgraded through the electrical system. Well, there you go, Cami. See? I know. We have a lot to discuss on Zoom. I'll see you guys later. Adios.